Greetings everyone, this is Justin with Davie Resource Group's GIS IT Software R&D department. And I wanted to give a quick overview of some upcoming Rover release 3.3. 3.3 has been more of a behind the scenes adjustments, but there are a few highlights that I wanted to touch on. The primary goals of 3.3 was to remodel the upload-download, add better logging to help us investigate challenges, and then finally some quality of life improvements. This particular video is going to focus on those quality of life improvements. So logged into Rover right now, I have a couple things I want to bring up to your attention. One is the revision of the iconography. So we've gone through and we've cleaned this up, made it consistent throughout the entire application using the same icons as much as possible. If we also handled this within the main edit form as well. Some updated icons here. And then there was a few icons, we were starting to run out of space, so we introduced this submenu where you can get to some of the less commonly utilized functions of the application. We've also added a zoom out tool in the toolbar. This was a request that was asked of us occasionally. So we now have the ability to activate that tool and zoom out on the map appropriately. Another adjustment we made has to do with the identify results. So if we go in and we identify a particular record, then we've got it now so that the notes field will always appear if it's been populated. So the notes field was a special field that we didn't have an easy mechanism to include in this panel, but so what we've opted to do is always include the notes for all features. So this was another commonly requested feature request that we've gotten where our planners wanted to be able to just quickly review the notes at that high level. The other change we made was having to do with the unique ID. So we've made it so that if you see the unique ID in this identified panel, you can click on it and it will actually copy it to your clipboard. So then you can go into My Row Keeper and paste it into a remote ID search. So that's a definite improvement over having to manually type in the unique ID. It's very easily grabbed and put on your clipboard. A new change that we've also introduced in Rover is the ability to run your last query over again. So if you go into the search tool, and perhaps what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run a search for all my maple trees, all my maple removals, do the search, and it comes up with 9 matching targets. If I'm going through and I'm correcting this information, like maybe I should be making these a little bit more precise, not just maple, but maybe like a particular species of maple, I can go through and I can edit each of these. And if for whatever reason I close the layer search so I could like pan around on the map or identify additional features, if I go back to the search dialog, I have this new icon up here which will allow me to run the last search. It'll just repeat the same parameters of the search that I had before. One of the changes that we made for Rover 3.2 was when you were creating a polygon feature, and you were digitizing it, it would give you a representation of the distance as you were digitizing it. But we also wanted to include that on the GPS as well. And so there's my red star. I'm running on a simulation, but if I go ahead and hit the drop, as the red star draws, you can see that it's calculating a distance for me, and I can go ahead and drop a new vertex, and it'll give that distance of that particular segment as well as a new distance from the last vertex I had dropped. And so now those two lines together are altogether 204 feet, and I've moved another 68 feet from the previous vertex. If I switch over to stylus mode, then you can see that the stylus where I click is also giving me that measurement from my last dropped vertex. And if I want to get back to the red star measure, I just have to turn off the stylus tool and it'll go back to giving me that particular measurement. And then the final change that we made related to Rover has to do with archiving and purging. So we've reworked the archive options so that you can choose which layers you want to archive. So I can unselect all of them and then just cherry pick through the ones I'm interested in archiving. Or I could select all of them. If I keep them all selected, it more or less works just as it did before. And then I can go ahead and also specify any other combination of criteria, including just using what my last search was. So if I wanted to archive like all my maples, for example, I can run the search in there for maples and then come over to the archiving feature and just use my search window results. But the ability to be able to pick and choose which layers we want to actually archive or purge makes it possible that we now have a little bit more control over the information that we're throwing in there. I have the option now to clear my selected layer. That would just clear out the removals. My utility line corridor, my linear trims, all those other features would stay within the system. And I can also purge as well, same idea. So that's another improvement that we put in to give our users a little bit more flexibility archiving, whereas prior versions of Rover, the user always had to do the entire set. There'll be a follow-up video for the other major improvement on version 3.3, which is the upload, download, remodel. But in the meantime, I'd like to remind everyone to stay safe.